Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. It is Sunday today, so we are looking at the book of Psalms. We do this every Sunday. Today, I want to look at Psalm 76, and it's entitled "God is feared by the kings of this earth," and that's the closing line of the particular psalm. And you're going to see when you read this psalm, Psalm 76. It doesn't say it in the verses that we read. But when you look at it closely, most likely it's pertaining to the story that takes place in both Isaiah 37 to 38 and then also in 2 Kings 18 to 19. And that has to do with the king Hezekiah, king of Judah, and then also Isaiah the prophet, and then the king another king coming to destroy, intending to destroy that. So let me sum up that particular passage here. So that way, when we read Psalm 76, you can go, oh, wow, yeah, this makes sense here. So 2 Kings 18 and 19. 2 Kings 18 and 19. What I'm looking at for chapter 19. In 18, what happens is, this is all with Hezekiah becomes king, and he's like 25 when he becomes king. And then Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem, and what happens is in that time, Isaiah prophesies and says, he's going to turn away. He's going to get distracted and turn away. Well, then he sends later in chapter 19. He sends other. He comes back again. Okay, this guy doesn't give up. He keeps coming back. But in verses 14 to 19, Hezekiah goes and he brings. He just lays it all down before the Lord. Okay, he received a letter from these messengers, and he lays it before the Lord. He's like, I can't do anything. This is like impossible, and he just lays it before the Lord. And then Isaiah. Then after that gives a prophecy. And in that prophecy, he says, don't worry about it because I am going to destroy King Hezekiah. And I want to conclude with the last little bit of that prophecy. The prophecy goes on for, a good number of verses. And I would encourage you to read this. This is 2 Kings 18 to 19 or Isaiah 37 to 38. It's the same story, just from Isaiah's perspective and then the author of 2 Kings, that perspective, okay? So when we look at that, I want to read just the last verses of 2 Kings 19, starting verse 32. And this is Isaiah's prophecy here. This is the last portion of it. It says, therefore, this is what the Lord says concerning the king of Assyria. Okay, well, this is interesting. Let's see what's going to happen to him. It says, he will not enter this city. Okay, and remember, he had his army camped outside the city, and he had threatened, saying, "You're going to be wiped out. We're just going to come in and wipe you out." So the army was outside the city, and Isaiah says, "That's not going to happen. He will not enter the city or shoot an arrow here. He will not come before it with a shield or build a siege ramp against it. By the way he came, he will return. He will not enter the city, declares the Lord. I will defend the city and save it for my sake and for the sake of David, my servant." Okay? The king probably took this path or this road to get there, and Isaiah says he's going to go back down the same path. He's not going to, nothing's going to happen here. He won't do an arrow. He won't build a siege ramp. Nothing's going to happen here, which would be quite shocking to the people there, because the king of Assyria, his army was encamped outside the city. Okay, let's find out what happens. The last few verses tell what happens here. In verse 35 it says, that night the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. I don't know if you just caught what I just said. The Lord's angel went out and killed 185,000 of the enemy army. Okay, that's like if you go to the Tampa Bay Rays stadium, you might be able to pack that out and have people sit on the infield and stuff with like maybe 75,000, maybe. I mean, if we really pack them in there. And so this was an army of 185,000. So more than double that. And you could probably fill that stadium 3 times with the amount of 185,000. So the angel comes and wipes out that many soldiers. We just kind of blow by that, but when you look at it carefully, 185,000, that's a lot of soldiers there. He just wiped out, okay, just like that, overnight. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. He returned to Nineveh and stayed there. Okay, just like it, Isaiah prophesied, he's just going to go home the same way he came. Okay, apparently the king, he was spared, but he returned home. All right, but the story doesn't end there. You think, oh wow, that's great, 185,000 people, soldiers died, and the story's all over, and the town is saved. But it doesn't end there. Verse 37. One day, while he was worshiping in the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Adrammelech and Sherezer killed him with a sword, and they escaped to the land of Ararat. And Eshgon, his son, succeeded him as king. Okay, so he was killed too. All right, the story ends with his army's wiped out. He goes home in shame, and then his sons murder him. Can you imagine that? Your own son's killing you? What a terrible way to die at the end. Anyway, this psalm here, now if you turn back to Psalm 76 here, this psalm is most likely pertaining to that story. And you're going to see God will be feared, okay? He might not be feared here in your lifetime, but he will be feared by the kings of the earth, okay? They might, die and get before the judgment seat of Christ and go, and be shocked for the judgment that's coming to him. So let me read here today. It's only like 12 verses. It says this: God is renowned in Judah. In Israel his name is great. His tent is in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion. There he broke the flashing arrows, the shields, and the swords, the weapons of war. Okay, just like what I just read earlier when he came in and killed 185,000. You're radiant with light, more majestic than the mountains, rich with game. The valiant lie plundered, they sleep their last sleep. Not one of their warriors can lift his hands. All right, that verse there would pertain right to the story that we were talking about. The valiant lie plundered, 185,000 of them. They sleep their last sleep. Not one of their warriors can lift his hands. Verse 6, at your rebuke, God of Jacob, both horse and chariot lie still. It is you alone who are feared. Who can stand before you when you are angry? From heaven you pronounced judgment, and the land feared and was quiet. When you, God, rose up to judge, to save the afflicted of the land, surely your wrath against mankind brings you praise, and the survivors of your wrath are restrained. 11. Make vows to the Lord your God, and fulfill them. Let all the neighboring lands bring gifts to the one to be feared. He breaks the spirit of the rulers. He is feared by the kings of the earth. Okay? That last verse there is kind of the key verse. It is the key verse. It's not kind of. It is the key verse. He breaks the spirit of the rulers. He is feared by the kings of the earth. You might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, yeah, I mean, he did that in the Old Testament. Surely he can't do that today. He can't, if we have a wicked ruler just doing his own thing, surely he can't do that. Oh, yes, God can do that. And God can control everything that's going on to the benefit of his will. Okay? He might allow that king to go on. He allowed the king of Assyria to go on and take the nation of Israel into captivity. But at this point, he didn't allow the king of Assyria to take Judah into captivity. God was controlling all of that all around. And when it came time for judgment for that king of Assyria, boy howdy did he get judged. Okay, he got his whole army, not his whole army, but 185,000 of them. That would put a serious dent in it. And then you would come back humiliated. You're like, man, I took this army of 108, at least 185,000, and I come back with 185,000 less than what I went with. And then you come back and he's so humiliated, and then his sons murder him. Like, what kind of goofiness is that? Anyway, it shows you how God controls everything, and he does it according to his will. And this is the last thing. God is feared by the kings of the earth. Okay? Hey, thanks for watching. I am a regular dude walking in the Word, and I invite you to join me next Sunday as we continue our journey through Psalms. And then this week also, we are continuing our journey looking at lessons I learned while on the Appalachian Trail. Lord's blessing. I will see you tomorrow.